in the 12 steps of recovery, and how we can deepen, how those of us who have practiced the 12 steps can deepen our attention to the profound 12 steps through New Thought spirituality, and how normal people, defined by as people who don't seem to have any addictions at all, needing recovery, how normies, as we call them in recovery, how normal people can use this 12-step process and some of the great spiritual principles to enhance our lives. And so, that's what we've been talking about. So let's see. Everything is... There's a great meme I have up here. It says, there's a Zen monk meditating over a lake. And it says, relax, nothing is under control. And that's kind of how it is up here right now. Nothing is under control. Oh well, I'm living this like a Zen monk. So last week we discussed the intersection of the Tao Te Ching and the 12 steps, Buddha, and the work of Abraham Hicks. Now, the video is on the website. So if you missed the last week, go back and watch the video. There'll be a test. It'll be called Your Life. It'll be called Your Life. That's the test. Jeff, who's not with us today, he sends his love. He started a new job, and he's working up in, God knows where, up near north of Troy somewhere, and at a Meyer grocery up there, demonstrating things. Perfect job for Jeff. He'll be back with us next Sunday, I think. He just has to do that job this week. And he'll tell you all about that great job he's got. So we bless him, and he's putting the videos on the website of this entire series of talks. So people found that helpful last week, and I know I did in terms of writing it, preparing it. It helped me a lot. So some of the great principles that support the 12 steps philosophy are expressed in slogans. I've got a few of those up here for you. Easy does it is one of them. Just chill. Learn to relax a little bit. Learn not to have it all right now. Learn to just relax. Easy does it. First things first. Know what your priorities are. That's important. That's important for me in my business. Whether I had a drinking problem or a cocaine problem or not, it's important in my business. First things first. I love this poster. It embodies so many of them. This too shall pass. Those of you who know Abraham Hicks uses this too shall pass. She uses that to get you out of that moment when life has just turned to horrible stuff, doo-doo, and you can't go from there to joy. So you go, okay, so you take one step up by saying this too shall pass. It's great for that. What happened? This too shall pass. Okay, then easy does it. Do the next right thing. What do I do now? Do the next right thing. Okay, that's all. I don't have to accomplish it all now. I can just do the next right thing. One day at a time. And the one in the middle, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is the serenity prayer. My grandfather, who got sober in a 12-step program in 1949, had this on an iron thing framed in his kitchen. All the life that I knew him back in 49, 50, anyways. And then one day at a time. One day at a time is awesome. See, it's about this. If a person walked into an AA meeting and said, I need help with my drinking, and she was told, great, it's simple. Just here, sign this pledge that says, I will never, ever drink again. That wouldn't only be foolish, it wouldn't work. Pledges don't work. I mean, we've all tried pledges, and they didn't work. And forever is an overwhelming concept. Forever is like, wow, how do I do that? So we focus upon today. Most of us can stick to our guns for a day, just for 24 hours. Many of us can surrender and experience life one day at a time. If you were told you couldn't, doctor said you can't chew bubble gum because you got this new dental work, you can't chew bubble gum till tomorrow, you could make it through the day, right? I mean, it's like we all can do something. Even if we had to, when I was smoking a cigarette, if the doctor had said you can't have a cigarette just for today, but I could do it. So it's like we can make it one day at a time. And there was a time in my life 30 years ago when I could not imagine life without cocaine. I tried to go 30 days one time, and I made it 29. It's almost like a common experience in recovery things where you think I can go a month and you make 29 days for some reason. You crash and burn on the 29th. It's so helpful in our lives, though, also. So helpful in our regular workaday lives. Those of us who have no problem with addictions. Rob Patanzu. Rob is a good friend of mine, a local actor who decided. He was at Michigan Actor Studio. When we first arrived at Michigan Actor Studio in Ferndale, he was a man who was around helping us get set up and moving in, and then shortly he left. You know where he went? L.A. Hooray for Hollywood. He went out to L.A. to seek his fortune, because he's a good enough actor. He'd taken a lot of classes there from Rachel Bellick and Rich Kateri at Michigan Actor Studio. And he said, I'm going to give this a try. And the man is, I don't give away ages, but, you know, he's not 30 or 40. He's a little bit older than that. And it's like, yay. So I talked to him this week. We're friends on Facebook. We keep up with each other. And he said, the biggest thrill in Hollywood was getting my SAG card, the Screen Actors Guild. It's not easy to get. It's a real hurdle to, it's a real threshold a place for a Hollywood actor. And he got his SAG card in May of this year. He'd been out there 2 years. He said, this was a game changer that I'm still adjusting to. He said, just the thought of acting itself was a bit overwhelming for me at first. When I first started, I kept thinking, I'll never be able to pull this off. But I kept going to class and soaking in all the information and did not let my fear rule me. Many times I felt defeated. You ever felt defeated in a project? He said, many times I felt defeated, but did not act that way. It was only a feeling, not the reality of what I may have just gone through. Have strong, positive people. Having strong, positive people like Rich and Rachel to support me was key as well. I had to stay with those people who are positive and supportive and leave the naysayers behind. This is how I became strong enough to leave for LA and give the big time a go of it. He said, you have to acknowledge the fear and plow through it. Once on the other side of fear, I seen it was not as bad as my mind thought it to be. I want to underscore that. Once on the other side of the fear, I discovered it was not as bad as my mind thought it would be. Have you ever had that experience? Where you thought it was going to be, oh, this parade of horribles was going to happen? And then when you got through, no, it wasn't that bad at all. It's really never as bad or tough, as fearful, Rob says, as your mind makes it out to be. I stopped asking, key here, I stopped asking, how am I going to do this? And just did it. Letting the chips fall where they may. Isn't that great? Yay, Rob. I hope you're watching this, man. We're in your corner. We're rooting and praying for you. The thought of going to Hollywood, it's huge. You see, very, very daunting. I've thought of it myself. But Rob is taking it one bite at a time, doing what he has to do one day at a time. I myself hear of friends who are writing doctoral theses, and I'm stupefied. I can't imagine that. I mean, how would I write a doctoral? I could never write a doctoral thesis. Never. Of course I could. Of course I could. How? One day at a time. Just one day at a time, one page at a time, one little bit of research at a time. Here's another example. How can you eat an entire pizza? This little guy's finding out. One bite at a time, one piece at a time. He's got some support from other members of his family, see? She's showing him how to do it. And of course, his mom, she really, one piece of pizza at a time. That's how it works. And when I set out to establish my law practice many, many years ago in Florida, and to serve many people in our community with effectiveness and integrity, and provide a very prosperous income for my family, it seemed like an insurmountable hurdle. It seemed impossible, and it truly did. I was too inexperienced. I didn't know enough. I was worried that I'd mess up, and I didn't know all the stuff that the big guys know. That was all true, by the way. Those are facts. I didn't know all that stuff. I just set my intentions. I graduated and all, but I set my intentions. And I began to do it one day at a time, one client at a time, one lesson at a time. And I built that practice. And I've shared with you how I use japa manifestation meditation, which we'll do some japa on Wednesday nights here. I use japa manifestation meditation to build a huge law practice. And Wayne Dyer talked about it. in one of his tape series about how I had built my law practice that way. And so now I'm creating a successful real estate business, helping people find the homes and the businesses of their dreams. And I know how to do that too, because of my experience with the practice of law, doing it there, one day at a time, one good day of service after another. You've done this in some areas of your life. I know you have. And now it's time for us to apply it to the other areas of our life, which might be waterlogged, which might be logged down. It's the same with you and I and all of our goals. You see, the stopper is this. The stopper is worry. Worry is not living in the now. It's pretending that you're living in the future. And all the bad stuff that you can imagine has just happened. Look at it. That's what worry is. It's like pretending that you're living in the future. And, oh my God, what will we do? What will we do? How will I pay the mortgage? How will I ever get this thing written for the boss? I don't know that this project is due Friday and this Wednesday. I don't see how it can get done. Scripture says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. I love that. That's so Jewish. I just love it. And a rabbi said this. His name was Jesus. He said that. The rabbi said, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or stow away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Are you not much more valuable than they? Like, have faith. Take a deep breath in the middle of the worry. Believe. Be in the moment. Bring yourself back to the sunshine and the blue sky. We were standing out here, Delta and I. We're standing out in the parking lot greeting people. And I went through my normal every Sunday deal that I go through. 10:22, nobody's here. Oh my God. Oh my God. 3 volunteers are hearing me. Oh my God. 10:23, oh my God. And he just Delta started muttering under his breath, oh, I love now. I just be here now. I'm just beautiful sunshine. I'm going, oh yeah, the be here now thing. Yeah, that's right. And he said, so I got myself away. I tore myself away from pretending that it was, the horrible things were happening, in the future. I started looking at the sunshine and deep breath and relax. And people started pulling in the driveway. You guys started arriving. It was so cool. Yay, Delta. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah. Some years ago, I was working on a business deal. We had lots of time, lots of energy, lots of money was put into it. Then suddenly, one of the principals went incommunicado. He wasn't returning my phone calls. The last time I'd spoken to him, he sounded very standoffish. It just wasn't like him. He was a very friendly, happy sort of a guy. And he'd always been right there, returning phone calls the same day. And now I hadn't had a phone call from the guy in 4 or 5 days. I called around and I discovered that he and another principal had an argument. He had an argument, a real falling out, and it hadn't been settled. There were still people with some hard feelings about it. And then I just knew what had happened. He'd gotten angry and he's walking away from the deal. He'd had enough of the deal. He'd had enough of his other partner, and he said enough. His feelings were hurt. I suffered for 2 weeks and worried about that. All that money, all that time, maybe some lost friendships. It's horrible. Have you ever had something like that happen? You just knew it was... all that work is down the drain, and oh my God. And then I remember stopping at a red light, and I get reflecting on, Ram Dass's book, Be Here Now. Be here now. Be in the present moment. And my friend Tony Jordan always reminds me, no matter what's going on, always be thankful. Just find a way to say thank you. So I pulled myself out of that parade of horribles that my mind was creating, and I began to say thank you. Thank you for that friend in the first place. Thank you for those 2 principals. Thank you for the sunshine. Isn't this nice? And the phone rang at that exact instant. The phone rang and it was him. He said, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't see your voicemail. It was at the bottom of the stack, and I've been backed up. I've been out of town on a business trip, and I just have been out of touch. What can I do for you? Like, you just did it. You just made my day. You made my month. So what had happened those 2 weeks? That was just worry. That was my mind making stuff up. That wasn't true. It's like that we cannot keep up with the fast pace of life. And so we got to stop the mind and just be here now. Be in this instant. The Course in Miracles calls that this holy instant, when we can totally forgive everything, including all the stuff we've made up, all the illusion, what the Buddhists call the Maya, the illusion of life, and just be here now. Deepak Chopra, how many of you know who I'm talking about? Deepak Chopra asked the question, at this instant, where are the past and the future? Nowhere. Only the present moment exists. Past and future are mental projections. And so the challenge is to live fully now, in every moment, now. There was an anonymous poem written on a subway wall one time which read, first, I was dying to finish high school and start college. Then I was dying to finish college and start working. Then I was dying to marry and have children. Then I was dying for my children to grow old enough for school so I could return to work. Then I was dying to retire. And now I'm dying and I realize I forgot to live. And so where we live is not in here, it's out here. It's like feel your feet on the floor. Do it right now. Get out of your head, stop thinking about me, what did I just say, and feel your feet on the floor. Now feel your butt in the seat. Do a little dance in your feel your butt in the seat. Feel your breath. Feel your breath. Be here now. You see, the alternative is the illusion which the Eastern mystics speak of, the Maya, which the Buddhists speak of. It's the illusion. The Hindu idea of Atman, A-T-M-A-N, Atman, is that state where you realize that who you are is not the thought process. Who you are is not the thoughts you have, not the mental pictures. That who you are is not the emotions or how you feel. Who you are is not this body. Who you are is that which is behind all of it. In the background, just noticing that it's all there. Just kind of aware. But that which is behind all of that is watching and listening. When you're in deep meditation, some of us have had that experience of going into deep meditation. We notice the thinking, we notice the thoughts. Thank you for sharing mine. Thank you for sharing. We notice the way our body feels in the chair. Perhaps we have some complaints about how the body feels in the chair. And then something happens. We'll meditate long enough, and it's just the wind is just right, and the day is just perfect enough, and suddenly we drop into a black chasm where there's no thought. It's just splendid. It feels remarkable. It feels magnificent. Some of us have had that experience. Some of us have that experience a lot. You're in there and it's, and there's no thought. But thought comes by, you don't even notice it. It's like a bird in the sky. You don't even notice it. Just down there where there is no thought. There's no feeling, there's no emotion, there's no body. But there is you. You are there. That's the Atman. That is the soul of the Atman of the Hindu tradition, the Atman, or Atman of the Hindu tradition. You're right there with the Christ consciousness of the New Thought spiritual tradition. The Garden of Eden was the Atman, I suggest to you. It just occurred to me this week. The Garden of Eden back in Genesis is the Atman state, where everything was just splendid. There were no problems in the Garden of Eden. They could just till the soil and have fruit, and food was just wonderful, have fun. Life was great. They just couldn't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They couldn't, in other words, they just couldn't decide that something was bad and something was better than something else, because that got them into the drama that we live in all the time. And so that was a metaphorical example of the Atman. So being in the garden was the metaphorical example of it. When they were thrown out of the garden, well, that was by their own choice. They decided that things were wrong. And so there starts drama, and it becomes a problem. So AA, you see, was not the first to be concerned with staying in the present day. It goes back about 4,000 or 5,000 years, maybe 6,000 years. So I'm going to encourage you to be in this breath and not beyond. I want to suggest an exercise for you. Would that be okay? Just let me suggest an exercise. Close your eyes a minute. Let's close our eyes. Now just breathe. And breathe. Notice your breathing. Notice your body. Now wait for the next thought you have. Watch for the next thought. And when the next thought comes by, please say this: thank you for sharing. Talk to your mind. Thank you for sharing. Watch for your thought, and then say thank you for sharing every time you hear a thought. Okay, good. All right, so be with me again now. So how was that, briefly? Could you do that? Were you able to notice thoughts and then go, oh, thank you for sharing? It's a brilliant idea that I heard in Est back in the 1980s. It was a great exercise we did. So you actually develop a separation from who I am and who these thoughts are, so that the thoughts become less controlling of us, and there's a spaciousness between who I am, which is way back, called the Atman, or the soul or the Christ, and all these thoughts that typically run us and have us run out the door and do things and have us worry. So just thank you for sharing. You're thanking your mind for sharing. You're not being belligerent to your mind, you see. I like that about that exercise. You're being loving and respectful of this mind that has been trained for 30 or 40 years, some of us 60 or 70 years. Being kind. Being 60 or 70, 80 years even. And so just being loving and respectful and gentle, always gentle and loving with the mind. That helps us facilitate our mastery of the mind. This week, see what that's like. Would you be willing to do that every day? Just be, maybe after your meditation, or I don't know what you do for your meditation, but maybe incorporate this into your practice. You meditate for 10, 15 minutes, or you would do whatever you do. Take 3 minutes and do this. You will see that eventually, soon, you will begin to put thank you for sharing into your life as you're at work. You will. You'll be there at work and you go, oh, God, oh, I can't believe that. The boss is coming. Oh, thank you for sharing. Some spaciousness again. You can breathe. Yeah. Try that. Try that. You see, here's the thing. If this will not only benefit your life, it will not only pick up your career, and enhance your loving relationships. It will not only help you in your family life and your job. It will do all of that. It will also do this. You see, the end of ISIS, the end of terrorism, the upward movement of humanity, the solution to global warming, and the ultimate care and nurturing of Mother Earth will be brought about by only one thing. A friend of mine, spiritual thinker Barry Bernard, writes, this is good, this is important, this tells you why we're doing what we're doing. The shared spiritual awakening, he writes, the shared spiritual awakening to our oneness with God, the Atman, the Christ, beyond, the higher power. The shared spiritual awakening to our oneness with God, each other and all creation, can be understood as an individual and collective threshold of consciousness that humanity must choose to cross if it is to survive as a species. That's a mouthful. If it is to survive as a species, failure to do so will likely result in the continuation of humanity making choices that reduce nature's capacity to sustain life. Anyone who understands evolution realizes that nature will not tolerate that for long. Thus, the mission of advancing the movement that calls us to spiritually awaken to our oneness with God, with each other, and all creation is critical to humanity's future. Nothing is more important, Barry Bernard's, or more promising. That's why we come together on Sunday. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm in this game of being a unity minister and spreading this message. And I invite you. I'm going to do it all week long, just 3 minutes. Well, thank you for sharing. That's a great step in for all of humanity. And you know how big a step it is? Course in Miracles says, how many know what I'm talking about when I say Course in Miracles? A Course in Miracles says that spending just 5 minutes with forgiveness, forgiving, and becoming present in the holy instant saves 1,000 years until the evolution into the oneness, experience of the oneness. Saves. So, just 3 minutes of this, who knows the difference that you're making by that you, if you're the only one here who does that, if you're the only person who does that this week, the earth shifts, humanity grows because of you. So put space between you and the thought this week. Discover who you really are. One breath, one moment, one day at a time. Let's go to prayer for a minute. I love life. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for blessing me with life and the life force flowing through me. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for your presence within me. Source energy moving through me. Life, l'chaim, to life. I love life. I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for my beingness. I'm grateful for this spiritual discovery of the Atman within me, the Buddha nature, the Christ consciousness within me. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. And I ask to be reminded throughout this entire week, I ask to be reminded to look for the thought and to say, thank you for sharing, mind. I love you. Thank you for sharing and creating spaciousness in my life to be who I am in the moment, in each breath. So be it, and so it is.